June, a college student, is randomly asked by one of her classmates, Ian Davis, to drop some study material in his house in the middle of the night. While at a coffee shop with her friends, Quinn and Lilia, they tell her it's not such a great idea, especially as she barely knows him and it would be better if he would come meet them in the coffee shop. Despite the unusual nature of this request, having a bad feeling that this could definitely wait till the morning, June decides to go anyway, as she mentions that she made a promise and that Ian has been missing a lot of classes lately as he's been taking care of his sick little sister. Taking a bus, June hits the stop buzzer at the station she was instructed to get off at. After walking a bit, she can't believe Ian would live here in the middle of nowhere. After she passes him the notes, Ian offers him to stay for a while and get some refreshments as a gesture of gratitude that June traveled all this way to give him the notes. Here, June can decide to go in or leave, as she promised Lilia she would leave immediately after passing Ian the notes, which can lead to different endings. Despite the promise, June goes in, thinking nothing bad of this would arise if she would just stay in for a short while, getting a quick refreshment and rest. Before going in, June asks Ian about his sister, whom he talked about before being unwell, which surprises him, catching him off guard as if he's hiding something, shrugging it off, saying that she feels better now. As they enter, Ian explains his sister and their father live together, but the father is traveling at the moment, with Ian and his sister being in the house only. Ian then goes on to make some tea, coming back after an unusually long time for making tea, as if he's struggling to find the tea bags or the kettle. Coming back, June has the choice to drink or refuse, but as she drinks, Ian weirdly watches her drink, not touching his own tea, when the phone starts ringing, with Ian leaving to pick it up. After Ian finishes his conversation, June starts feeling drowsy and dizzy, slowly blacking out, with Ian having a malicious smirk on his face as he asks if she's okay. As June awakens, she finds herself in some sort of storage room filled with boxes and a ladder leading up to a hatch door, as if she's in the basement. Trying to shake off the drowsiness and lightheadedness, she notices that she's tied to a chair, not believing what's happening to her. She starts making sense of it all, yet trying to be in denial, as she is fully aware what will follow afterwards, and that's something her fight or flight doesn't want her to face, knowing she has been drugged by the tea and tied up in the basement in a house located in the middle of nowhere by someone she barely knows by the name of Ian. Soon after, Ian comes down with a look of excitement and entitlement, holding something on his hand which appears to be a kitchen knife. He explains how he really likes June and that's why he did what he did. June, being furious yet scared, can't stop but yell, asking if Ian wants to kill her with the knife he's holding. He then plays a twisted mind game on her, asking if she should kill her and that she is the one to blame. She is the one who came to the house in the middle of the night, drank from a stranger, as if she asked for all of this and she shouldn't be the one to talk. He is so deluded and narcissistic that he can't help but smile while tormenting June, someone who could maybe even fancy Ian before all this, or maybe she simply wanted to help a fellow classmate for the finals. Either way, there's no winning with a psychopathic Ian, as they tend to always see the world through their own perspective and always blame others for their own twisted goals and plans. This is what Ian is doing here, explaining that it's June's fault for not being careful and letting her guard down, even though he is the sinister and hostile being, preying on the innocent and taking advantage of anyone that is kind enough to give him the slightest acknowledgement. Ian goes on displaying his twisted way of affection, which rightfully disgusts June, when all of a sudden something is heard getting knocked over and breaking, which attracts Ian's attention, who goes up to check on it. June, crying, feeling betrayed and hurt, and as any normal person in this scenario, not being able to help but blame herself for not being careful enough. She holds herself together and realizes Ian dropped something clumsily while going up. June knows the only way to survive is to depend on herself and stop crying when she manages to free her hands by wearing down the tape that tied them. Trying to investigate the surrounding, June at this moment not knowing what Ian is truly capable of. Maybe he wouldn't go so far as killing her. She opens the boxes, finding the horrifying truth that he has killed people before, keeping some of their remains in the boxes. She then looks around some more, finding a pencil and the item Ian dropped being a key. She quickly goes up the ladder, entering a room, being horrified to find pictures of herself secretly taken while she was not aware at different angles, displaying how obsessed Ian is. Feeling sick of the little creepy stalker shrine Ian has made of her, she hears screaming coming from the outside. It's Ian in front of a locked door in the house with a person on the other side being someone called Aries. Ian is trying to force his way in to investigate what she broke while Aries is barricading it, screaming to deter him. June, assuming she might be the sister he mentioned to be ill, she quickly tries to hide as it sounds like Ian is coming back. As Ian goes down to the basement, June plans to head to the main door, but Aries quickly signals her to get in the room with her as the main door is fortified and shut. Ian coming back up trying to find June, the phone rings again, distracting him, which he goes to answer. Meanwhile, Aries and June get acquainted, with Aries explaining she is the half-sister called Aries Petrova. Aries is very young, possibly younger than 10, which makes June feel bad for the sister, trying to protect her while finding a way to escape and save her own self. All windows and doors being locked, June plans to find a landline to contact the police. As she goes down, she hears Ian being on the phone. Instead, she looks for a way out, finding a note and a jar of purple pills, which were the culprit of her passing out. These pills are specifically instructed to be dissolved in hot water in order to make them much more effective and difficult to identify the strange taste. After Ian finishes talking on the phone, June uses it to only discover that the phone doesn't work, as if it only unlocks with a code or works with incoming calls. While staying out of the sight of Ian, June makes a mixture with the purple pills and puts it in a sprayer, which she uses to make Ian pass out. Managing to do something that she didn't know she would be capable of, she searches him in hopes of finding the exit door key, but she only finds a photo card and keys to a bedroom. The photo is of his biological mother holding him when he was a baby, with the back of the photo signed as June 17th, possibly being the date this photo was taken. Going to the bedroom, she finds a family photo of the father, himself, and the stepmother and half-sister, Aries. The back of the photo is signed with the name Anya Petrova, which could be the name of the stepmother. Finding a newspaper, June reads the tragic fate of Ian's stepmother, Anya Petrova, who died at the young age of 32, someone who was a successful actress and singer, with her corpse being found in the house. This tragedy took place only few days before the wedding was scheduled to take place. There are a total of 6 different endings, which some have similar outcomes, in reality being more like 4 endings. As June leaves the room, Ian ambushes her, rushing towards her, explaining that the only reason she wasn't discovered before is because he intentionally played a game of hide-and-seek with her. He also explains that the main door key is left with Aries, as after all, she is his sister and listens to him. Aries is clearly manipulated, and as she's young, she can't take charge, looking up to a twisted brother. Also, Ian seems to hold a collateral from her, a secret, which makes Aries do as he commands. She repeatedly apologizes to June when June gives up, trying to plead with a psychopathic Ian, asking why he's doing this and that she didn't do anything to him, and according to him, she's very kind. That's when he takes joy watching June cry in terror, attacking her with malice and repeatedly stabbing her until she collapses, dismissing her screams and cries. When life leaves her body, Ian, in a mocking voice, says she thought that she was smart spraying him, but he forgives her as he really likes her, with people like her that are kind and naive. That it kinda makes him sick. Clearly, being annoyed that she tried to run away, he dumps all of his frustration on her, even after she is dead. Alternatively, if June picks up the knife, a different conversation takes place. In the final face-off, Ian, with a sinister smile, explains as he said before she wouldn't understand his love when, in a swift move, he takes the knife and stabs her once, saying he does this because she's kind. This isn't the end for June, however, as the sick Ian dismembers her, placing her body parts on a dining table alongside others whom he killed before, complimenting her how beautiful she is, fully role-playing with the remains of a dead person. This isn't over though, as Ian mentions, despite June being his favorite, his appetite is never satisfied, targeting someone else he likes very much, whom he's already invited to his house, someone who will face a similar fate. With the following two endings, if June decides not to drink the tea offered to her, she could manage to actually speak to Ares beforehand and build some sort of connection and friendship with her, letting her trust her. Despite that, the game plays out as normal after Ian puts a cloth with chloroform on June, making her pass out and wake up in the basement. In the final face-off, June manages to actually stab Ian, leading to his death. In here, the narration mysteriously mentions that this brings the end of the tragic life of Ian, which could mean there's more to the story, with subsequent installments following, but more on that later. In ending 5, if June decides to stab Ian in the arm in the final face-off, she manages to stun him and convince Ares to leave with her. As they leave the house, some time passes, with June having a session with a doctor which could potentially be a therapist, as hinted with what follows. Gwen and Lilia, the friends she was having a coffee with in the beginning of the game, are revealed to be nothing but the figments of June's imagination, with a third voice joining the group being Ian's, who haunts her every day, especially at nights when she wants to sleep, being at her most vulnerable. Therefore, after escaping the deranged Ian, for some reason, whether she reported the incident to the police or not, she becomes unaware of what followed afterwards, not knowing where either of Ian or Ares are, which is very strange as it was a life-changing incident, with anyone typically reporting the perpetrator like Ian to the police, with the story getting media's attention easily. Due to her mental health and her vivid imagination, especially as she says Ian's voice is alongside other imaginary voices like Gwen and Lilia, it's a possibility the entire story took place in her mind, with Ares and Ian never truly existing. And from all the different endings, this one is the only true ending, with June being deluded and never finding out what happens to Ian and Ares. In ending 0, if June decides to stay in the coffee shop with Gwen and Lilia, she stays safe, never to face the deranged Ian, having even a feeling that she evaded something huge. Ending 1 plays similarly, but instead, June goes to Ian's house but decides to leave as soon as she passes him the notes, which ends with June never experiencing the trauma. Now, as I mentioned before, this is the first installment, being part of a series with majority of the endings not being canon, even with the true end possibly changing for the next installments. Some stuff I wanted to go over were the backstory of Ian and Ares. Clearly, Ares is from a stepmother, Anya Petrova, who was claimed by the newspaper to have died by herself, found in the house and only a few days before the scheduled wedding. It does smell a little fishy, and as we don't know much about the father, he could be even equally or more psychopathic than the son who could have killed her. Ares looks identical to Anya and has a gentle and naive personality who is easily manipulated. But Ares has a secret of her own which the brother uses as collateral to control her. What is the secret and why is she so afraid of it ever leaking? Well, the secret could be something embarrassing that might be nothing that important, which Ares thinks is. But it could also be something major, as being someone who had a hand in the mother's death. We can't say for sure until more backstory is revealed about the so-claimed tragic story of Ian. The father is also never seen apart from the photograph, someone who has been away for a long time, so maybe he could have abandoned them or has died under Ian's hands. As we witness, he keeps the sister in the house and barely looks after her, evident from the deep dark eye bags and how rough she looks. Any parent would have prevented that. Also, Ares is trapped inside as Ian consistently says she's sick for missing classes she was enrolled for, possibly by the father, even with people calling, potentially principals asking about her. By the sounds of it, it hasn't been long since she stopped going to school, which means the father disappeared not long ago. We can't say much for sure about Ares and Ian until we get more installments, but buckle up for a sub-story about how poor Ian has transformed into this monster, especially showing a picture of him in his most vulnerable state as a child, being embraced by her biological mother, whom we don't know what happened to. Right folks, that's about it for the end of this video. I truly hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, you can stay tuned for more by hitting on the subscribe button and the notification bell. It's been your host Star, and I will catch you on the next one. Have a fantastic day.